Hello everybody. Oops. Okay, I did something bad here. Never mind. Yeah, there is as usual a delay between what happens here and what you see, and between when you type a question and the time I respond, because as I said, I do set up these lives with a little bit of a buffer time so that you won't have to wait for it to load. So hi Jessica, hi Ramona, hi Sharon. I hope you all are doing good. I'm still struggling to finish fixing my house. It's amazing how things like that past winter storm can mess you up for so long. Hi Judy. Anyway, getting back to our little mini series on scrap clay, I wanted to show you how you can make some really cool looking earrings. Hi Beth. Hi Teresa. Hi Sharon. Hi Elaine. Hi Catherine. Hi Panda. Hi Julie. Hi Diana. This whole thing is number one. I showed you before that using scrap clay you can make it look like faux metal without a lot of problems, either using mica powder and acrylic paints, or acrylic paints and art alchemy metallic wax, or Inca gold, as much as I'm not much into Inca gold, or the gilder's paste, or whatever you decide to use. The whole trick is to how you shape them. Okay, now for this kind of stuff, what you will need, let me catch up with my hellos. I said Diana, hi Jeannie, hi Sarah, hi Becky. Thank you. This time I had time to actually do them. Last live I was still working too much, and they were a little bit chipped. I didn't have time between the housework and the live. Anyway, what you will need for this kind of stuff, of course you can do it with any kind of texture. Honestly, what I'm recommending you is what would look, in my opinion, the best. Hi Colleen. And the best would be textures that have a very fine line indent, and they can go from, my most favorite whenever it comes to faux metals, the Cool Tools, because the Cool Tools textures are made for PMC precious metal clay. So they are specially made. Yes, I am very excited. I know that a lot of times she's just there and doesn't say anything. So as I was saying, these are made for metal. So their lines are way finer and way, they are just perfect for a metal look. And no, I am in no way affiliated to Cool Tools or whatever. They are just my most favorite. Another artist that you can use the textures, certain, not all textures, okay, certain textures, would be Helen Braille, and then you have the ginkgo and the, oh goodness, how is this called? Ugh, I forgot. It's called somehow. Okay. I'm going to try and find it for you here in a minute, and I will put it, Tanta Textures, Helen Braille. I'm going to give you a link for PolyClay Play, and we will look at it here in a second. Okay, that would be this one, and let me get on the display capture to show you what other ones would work. So this one would work, the After the Rain, the conga line, practically everything that's got very fine lines that are kind of all together. Like on this one, this part wouldn't work. The lines are way too far apart. But you have the ginkgo toss, the good vibrations. I have that. I just didn't get that. The hurly-burly would work. The jitterbug, not so much. As much as I love the jitterbug in other things, for this specific purpose, no. So this one is the Mambo, the one that looks like a whole bunch of Picassoed Nautiluses. And I'm trying to see the screen past the camera. The Watusi would work. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, most of these you can find on my Amazon influencer store. Yes, I will. And don't forget, I found out from her that by the end of this week, let me make sure that this is what she said, that I'm not conveying the message wrong. Give me just a second. So this was, is it this one? No, it's not this one. Trying to find the it's not this one. I'm trying to find the email in which she told me when she's getting clay. Okay, yeah, so she's going to get this coming week, the week that starts tomorrow, black, white, silver, cobalt, periwinkle, and 18 karat gold Premo in 2 ounces. And then her supplier is expecting all the other colors in all sizes that are on back order next week. So sometime by the end of, not this coming week, but next week, or the beginning of the 3rd week from now. So I will announce it on the Facebook page and also in the community tab on here whenever she gives me the hey, I got clay stuff. But anyways, so with any of these you can use, and you know what, I forgot to get to grab a mica, silver mica powder. Just to show you the different ways. Yeah, and I'm still I have everything ready here for the cast clay thing, because I want to show you how to make a few kinds of jewelry using cast clay, because it works great on jewelry. They came out with the deco line that they say it's much better for whatchamacallit, canes and stuff like that, and mokumegane and stuff like that. Honestly, I found that their regular one is just fine, but they still don't have translucent and pearlescent / metallics. Yeah, so they probably have to do their own orders through their own stores, and I don't know, we'll see whenever Trish gets them. I honestly am not going to get anything else from somebody else when I'm kind of a groupie like that. When I have a good store and good relations with a store, I'd rather wait a little bit more, but you know, because the other stores, they are a little bit larger. I know that Trish, she's just her. She's trying to do everything by herself. So, okay, now let's get to work. Number one, what you're going to have to do, in any of the ways that you decide to do, you're going to have to go relatively thin. That doesn't mean that it has to be too thin. You're going to have to do actually two sides, because the way that the oval will be shaped, you will have to have the design on both sides. So you'll have to bake one side first on support, obviously, and then the other side. Now what I'm doing here, I'm going to grab one thin sheet to strip to show you how to do. Now you can, normally you'd have an oval, and when I'm talking an oval, I'm talking about a frame type oval. I'm not talking about the regular, even if I'll show you how I can do that one too. But think about a frame type oval. So what can you do with it? Number one, what you can do is to do Mobius strip kind of stuff, and that will look really neat. Of course it looks a little grungy as I'm showing you just the shape, but this looks pretty neat. When you do it like this, you will have to put in, either you make a little hole and you put a head pin, and then you connect it to the ear wire, or you can use one of those eye screws. Another way that you can do it, and I'll tell you what's the thing that you need to pay attention when you're making earrings shaped like that. Another thing that you can do, just connect the whole thing, and that's another reason why you want to work first much thinner, because when the clay is thick like this, it's a little bit harder to manipulate. So you have it connected properly, then grab this side, and then it's up to you how you want to present it. If you want to put this part in the front, or if you want to put this part in the front. Of course, you don't have to make both sides with the same pattern or even with the same color. Of course, you can do this kind of stuff with regular clay. What I'm trying to show you here is other kind of clays. Now, another way of doing it, and it's a little bit smaller ones, but you can make them on larger ones. And personally, I prefer to use, even if I keep all the time, I save toilet paper rolls, because they are the best thing to ship canes in. And if you're asking me how I ship canes in, I make these into a square, and then I use popsicles, taped popsicles, to hold them straight so they wouldn't get squished. So I'm very careful about my canes. But use these little dowels, and these little dowels, you find them at the Dollar Tree for $1, and they might be $1 more or so, or like on Amazon if you're not getting out of the house. But I'll show you on these as they are, but I do suggest that you wrap them in aluminum foil. Or, as I said, if you want to make your earrings larger, you can do that with paper towel thingies, because they are thinner, they are only about this big, or even with round pencils that are thicker than this. It depends on how large you want your earrings to be. So remember, the tinier you make them, yeah, they will require more work, but at the same time they will look more like metal. So you have to remember that for this one you will need thin strips. And also I will show you how to actually do the patterns with the same, without having to bake first. Use the pattern on each side before baking. I mean, put it together before baking, not after you bake one, because in designs like this it's much harder to. So I'm not doing this perfectly right now because I just want to show you how to do this. Now for this kind of earring, I would suggest that you get pinch bails. They work the best, but you can also use just a simple jump ring. And remember, and why do I say wrap these in aluminum foil? Because you might have problems taking the stuff out. Now if you forget, hi Chris, hi Michelle, hi Natalia, if you forget and you bake it on the raw dowel and it sticks and you cannot pull it out because it's too tight, it's the same way that it would happen if you bake beads on a toothpick. Just heat them up a little bit more and then you'll be able to wiggle the thing out. But this is pretty much how it will look, depending on how you want to place it. Now there are a few other kinds of ovals, and they are not just all twisted, but they do make good. For this one you'll have to make the base and then place the veneer on it, but you can make both earrings at the same time. You just need to get, hi Darla, to get a little bit of a learning curve until you're able to cut it properly. What did I do with my, oh, there they are. I keep losing my eyeglasses. Okay, so do a big ball, about 1 1/4 inch in diameter. And again, it depends on how big you want to make them. For this one, I do advise you to, if you don't want them to be too heavy, even if polymer clay is not heavy at all, you might want to mix some ultralight in it. So this should be pretty much about 1 1/4 inch. Let me see if I eyeballed right. Let's see. Am I a good eyeball or not? Maybe it's just 1 inch. Yep. Well, I missed like by 1/8. I missed. Anyway, about 1 1/4 inch diameter. And then what you need to do is to start rolling it. As usual, I like to help myself with my acrylic block. And then when you get about, let's see, let me not give you, so again, it depends on how big you want them. Okay, so this would be just a little bit over 2 inches. When you get about this size, you start tapering. And be careful, because remember I told you before in other lives that whenever you have something like this, it will want to kind of split at the end, because the middle will stay behind and the edges will come out. But at this point you're only interested in the tapering. You don't mind much the shape. So that's pretty much what you want, and you want it to be fairly even. Okay, now you want to get it a little bit more refined. everything. And I got it too tapered, but that's not a problem because you can cut that part off. So essentially you want to get, I normally make them at about 4 to 5 inches. You don't want them to be too huge. And once you shape them, then use the acrylic block to make everything nice and even. And then your next thing is to cut this perfectly in two. This is the hardest part, and that's why I said this is the learning curve. But because you're playing with scrap clay, you don't really care. This will be your base, and you can put the veneer on top, whatever veneer you want. And I can assure you that I will not cut properly because I cannot look at it from above because of the camera. So I hope to still cut a proper so-called half, so I can show you what I mean when I try to show you this kind of stuff. Okay, so I got now, yeah, one is a little bit fatter than the other, but they'll still work. So I got now two things that look like two leeches, right? And what you need, again, it's not, you don't need this, you want more like one of the paper towel rods, but I'm going to use for this purpose my thick roller. Even if you don't bake it on the roller, okay? Do not bake it on the roller. So what you're doing now is make sure that you have it properly at the half, and then when you get here, now remember the paper towel roll is not going to be heavy. This is heavy because you'll have to do a little bit of a trick when you bake it. You're going to have to put it in some wrinkled, crinkled paper towels, or you can make a sleigh the way that I showed you how to make for baking blanks for light bulbs and stuff, because if you bake it on one side, it's going to flatten that side. Okay, so I got to here, and what I like to do, because anyway I would try to cut this with my blade, it's not going to work. So there we go. And now we can go ahead and make it nice here. And again, you can use a little eye screw to connect it. Now, what is neat about this kind of shape, and if you want, you can make this much thicker than what I made here. Let me try and get them off so you can see the general look. I mean, there are things that are a little bit not so everybody has it, because when you have cutters, and you have noticed probably that the problem on getting something, a special cutter or anything, because everybody has pretty much the same thing, so you need to get more creative with your veneers or how you put them together. No, you can cut clay with scissors without a problem. Another neat thing that you can do on this kind of design, if you have any of those jumbo jump rings, you can put them, make sure that you don't connect these completely, You know, you can, once they are still on there before baking it, you can keep them separate, and then you will connect them by putting a hole here, and then put a big jump ring to connect to the ear wire. But you can put a big jump ring through it. Actually, let me go grab some so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, and as I told you before, I probably should make a short video on that, on how to arrange your jewelry findings the easiest way, because I know that some people keep them like Teresa, she keeps them by color. I prefer to keep them by type, and I buy the sets with all colors, because when I'm looking, generally speaking, when I'm looking for a piece of finding, I'm looking for a specific piece of finding, and if I have all the piece of findings in one box or one type of box with all the colors, it's much easier for me to find the color that I need in a box. That, like here, I have special, more unusual jump rings, and they are all colors and all shapes. And if I'm looking for a special jump ring, it's much easier to find the color than in a box all of jump rings. Then a jump ring, I'm trying to explain how my mind works. In a box that's got all, let's say, silver colored findings, find the jump ring. Probably because also I have some eyesight issues, and I've always did. But okay, let's see, do I have a round one here? Yeah, there we go. I don't have the, I'm gonna keep this here because I don't feel like grabbing the pliers too. I just want to show you the whole idea. So you can just put a huge jump ring, and it's going to look really neat. And yes, by the end of this, we will make one from the start till the end. But yeah, these are all, as I said, all kinds of stuff that I get at my $1 Chinese store, or at Goodwill, or other thrift stores where you can buy all kinds of vintage and costume jewelry by the bag. So I just break them apart and keep only the stuff that I might need, that otherwise I would probably pay a fortune. Now these are not, these are special. These I bought to make Fimo leather and the PolyClay kind of stuff. Let me see, these are all kinds of leftovers of all kinds of shapes. And yes, I do have a few little boxes with all kinds of different charms and things. See, all kinds of various shaped jump rings. And also I have here the double coils and the thicker jump rings. But I did put up, see, they are a little larger. I did find on Amazon some larger jump rings, and they are in the jewelry findings in the influencer store. Okay, let me see my notes here. I'm old, I forget stuff. Okay, another way is simply, let's make an, because I'm gonna keep this and make it as an example, but you're supposed to make it after you bake it, right? To put the veneer after you bake it. Another way of making an interesting, where did I take this? Not sure if this one will be long enough, but we'll see. Another interesting shape, I know I said just twisted ovals because it's all kinds of other shapes, not just ovals. And not, some ovals are not really twisted, they are just different. Okay, another shape. And yes, you can make these, you can cover with cane, you can cover with mokumegane, you can cover with, as I said, using scrap clay to make it look like metal. Another way is, and again this will be, I know that I have it somewhere here, but I had I made out of clay a base. I cut this with the Premo cutter, about this tall. And then I had one made for like two more squarish one and one for a more ovalish one. Anyway, so, and again, the size of this is debatable. It's completely up to you how you decide, how big you decide to make it. Okay, this is not. What you practically need to do is to make first a smaller circle, and I like to shape it on a, and again on this one you're going to have to place the texture before baking. But the way that I had it designed, but you don't really have to do that. Hi Violet. Well, at least here we have a more subdued 57 or 58. And you can always sand it properly at a perfect, okay, this would be too long. Let's just give it a better chance here, and then make something that can be a circle, that can be an oval, whatever you choose to be. And I need my glasses, and I probably need to start my massager again. We're having a kind of one of those days that it cannot decide if it wants to rain, if it doesn't want to rain, if it's going to be foggy or if it's going to be sunny. Okay, and then you can place, but as I said, I had these this cut and then the shapes placed in clay as a base for baking. Another thing that you can use for this specific shape, if you don't have anything like that, but you'll have to bake the base first. Where is the usual Violet? I'm not even sure if I got the proper size. You can use, no, I got the bigger one and I don't know where the other one is. You can use the your cutter, but of course you're gonna have to do this twice to bake one of the shapes and then just put inside the other shape. And of course you can actually, one of the things you can do, and you don't even have to do it this wide, you can make it much thinner actually. Let me show you how. Actually, let me build one, okay? So I'm going to get this one And let's get the mambo. Because the other thing that you can do, what I started to say, you can fill it with resin and put tiny flowers or whatever other accents you want to put on it. Yeah, I'm working on stuff again, and as usual when I work on stuff I cannot find it because I work on several things at the same time. Okay, now it should work. There we go. So I got this, and again, I would first put a little bit of wax on it, but then after it's baked and everything, like I showed you last time, use some acrylic paint to do the oxidizing part. But just to show you how it's going to look like. And again, you don't want to mess too much with it because you don't want to get all over. It does look metallic, it does look, but yeah, if you don't want to bother with acrylic, and I did show the combinations, what to make as base. Give me just a second. Yeah, no, it's oxidized. Let me try scrap. No. Oxidized. I'm sorry. What the heck? I don't find it. I know I have a tutorial. Patina, let me search with patina. I forget how I named my tutorials. Because I know I have a tutorial in which I showed you how to make, if you don't want to bother with applying patina and stuff, just use mud clay, oops, mixed with a little bit of regular clay to obtain the colors of the oxidization, right? Matrix. Where the heck are you? Hey. Okay, I'll have to look for it and show it after. Put it in the description after. Because I don't I mean, I know I have the patinas using acrylic paints, and I told you about that. It's fine, but there is one tutorial where I showed how to do all kinds of, so you'll have the color of the underlying clay, the color of the oxidization, so you don't have to bother with using acrylics and all kinds of other stuff. You can just make it like that and then just put the whatever you're using for the metal look. Okay, so the way that you do it here, and it's very easy to work this kind of stuff with cutters. I'll show you in a second why it is so easy. So first of all, let's do a nice cut here. And then press. Okay. And do the cut the other way. No, the other way means the other way, not inside. Sometimes I lose it. So get it nicely. Well, you can do a much better job than what I'm doing now, because remember, it's much easier to do a tutorial when it's not live, especially when you have posture issues like me. Just to make sure that you get the proper joining here. Be very gently, kind of continue the lines of a texture, of the texture, whatever texture you're getting, you'll find a way. It will look just slightly different, but anybody looking at it from afar will not be able to tell that it's not part of the actual pattern. And when you do it like this, what is easy, of course, as I said, you can sand them. You can just go ahead and sand them like this on a sandpaper to get the proper. But when you did stuff like this, this is what you have to pay attention to. See how I did it here. So my advice is to get a much wider strip than what I did, because I wasn't planning on doing this. That's why I didn't cut it. And then you go again and you cut, but don't worry too much. All you want is to get an approximate even size, because as I said, just by using sandpaper, you can do it just fine. Okay, so I'm gonna just remove it, because we're gonna consider it baked, even if it will not look baked, and it will get removed from the cutter properly. And this just came up horrible. Let's use still this. Okay, so what I wanted to say, if you make it a little bit thinner than this, right, not so wide, not so wide like this, and then what you can do after you have done everything, you know, you do a little bit of sanding here and a little bit of sanding there to make it, it only takes a few swipes to make it look properly. Thank you, Roberta. Thank you. What you can do is put some tape here and then put it upside down, and then you can put some little findings in here and then fill it with resin. And of course use transparent tape, because once you do, if your inclusions are not opaque completely, I mean are not transparent, if they are opaque, the UV resin will not cure all the way to the bottom, so it will only cure here before the opaque stuff. So but if your tape is transparent, you can just turn it around and put it back in the UV lamp and it will look just fine. But as I said, getting back to our, and why I wanted to show you this is that I do plan to make some earrings tutorials. I should be done by the end of tomorrow at noon with all I have to do around the house. It all depends also on my neighbor, because I had to have my washer unhooked, and he came and hooked it back, and then when I tried to do laundry it leaks, so I have to wait for him to come and see what more unhooking it needs. But anyway, what I wanted to do was to show you the whole idea of twisted shapes, because I do plan on making a few very short tutorials on how to make these using scrap clay, because until we get new clay, everybody has scrap clay. And I'll probably look in my cane remnants and stuff and redo some of the stuff that I did 4 years ago. Okay. Let me see if I want it, if it's not too thick. Yeah, I want it thinner. Just a second. I want it much thinner than this. So I went on a 6 or 7. On a 7. Okay. My massager. Yeah, and I was saying that we have a weird weather, and that means the barometer is down, so my back muscles are messing up. You can use screws. Remember the screw rods? I did a mess here, that's fine. And the screw rods I showed you that you can find at Home Depot, those work just fine. I have a makings for everyday stuff, and then I have an atlas that's just for translucent when I want to do stuff that's really important. Now remember, if this is going to be just out of the oven and baked, you'll have first to rub bake and bond on it. I'm just using this because I did not, and it's going to be much easier to cut it because you'll have the raw clay, the baked clay, and you'll be able to cut against the grain. It's kind of hard to show. I just wanted to give you the whole idea of how these look when they are done, to give you a much better idea. And again, you can use whatever veneer you want. You can use some old canes on this kind of scrap clay base. I don't think you can see much here. Let me turn it around and you'll be able to see better. But as I said, it's not as easy to cut when it's all raw as it is when it's baked, and it's not going to be straight when it's going to be baked. But I wanted to show you a little trick on finishing. Okay, so you'll have this approximately like this, and you can make it even thinner than what I did if you want to. And then you'll have to place the inside, and you'll see when I'm using it's going to be much easier, not so much worked on with my fingers when I'm using the wax on it. Then again, use the bake and bond, start in the middle, and go in, and then you'll have to, when it's baked, of course you can go with your X-Acto knife perfectly like that, but trust me, it's much easier to cut the veneer when it's baked. Don't try to do it when it's raw. I'm just doing it for purposes of not keeping you here until this thing is baked. Okay, so you'll get something pretty much like this. Let me try to refine this here. So it will be something pretty much like this, but your problem will be at this little joint here. So what you want to do, if you cannot do it, I showed you many times how to do strings. If you cannot do it using the acrylic block, then just use your extruder. But your best bet, and as I said, usually when I only have one string or two like this, I simply use my little acrylic block to get two very, very thin strings. But with the acrylic block using like this, so see, I'm holding it here and just pulling down, and I'm going to be pulling down until I get the thickness I want. You can go fairly thin with these things. This is way too long, but anyway. And then you come back and you place it. Oh, my back is hurting. The problem is when I'm doing a tutorial live, or when I'm working on a tutorial, except for editing, I cannot use the massager because I have to be like this, and the massager is on the back of the chair. So you just place it right at this joint here. If you want to be all fancy, use your extruder with the thinnest die and then make a twisted rope out of it and use that. It will make it look even more metallic. And I know it doesn't look perfectly straight because I worked with raw clay, not baked clay, but I assure you, once you bake it, bake the base, it's going to be much better. And then you go again like this. And as I said, to put these together, you can either put them together to start with, or you can keep them separated, and then you just poke holes, and then you can put a jump ring through. Remember, this is much bigger than what I would normally do, just to show you how to do it. But So what I want to show you in the next couple of tutorials will be, remember the ox kanji, and how to make a few of these twisted ovals. But I wanted to show you first and explain it to you in a live, because a lot of times the message can get not so well conveyed in a pre-made video. So I wanted you to have time to kind of practice, because when I was coming up with all these, this is exactly years and years and years and years ago, this is exactly what I did. I just played with the scrap clay and I kept putting it in all kinds of shapes. Thank you, Roberta. In all kinds of shapes, and baked it and see what was working and what wasn't working, and how I could change how I could bake it better. Because on some things, you know how it is, you think it's going to work, but by the time it's baked you realize that it kind of flattened on the bottom, and you have to figure out another way to bake it, by the way. But as I said, I suggest that you use the paper towel things that is only about this wide. Another way you can do it is to make either polymer clay one, or using simply aluminum foil, something that you can practically stick the tube in like this. So this would be your base, right? You can either make a blob of polymer clay and make a hole exactly for the edge of the tube, or create one with, and I'm not gonna make it big because I don't want to waste aluminum foil. But pretty much what you do, make a base here, and then make a base here. You're going to need more aluminum foil than what I did here, but you do it like this so that when it sits in the oven, sits like this, so your earring will not touch anything, so you can bake it properly without any kind of problem. And of course you can, depending on how tall your oven is, you can vary the angle. Just make sure that if you have it at a much lower angle, you have more aluminum foil here, or even something heavy wrapped in aluminum foil if you don't want it to blunk. Okay, because it's the gravity center, baby. Physics. Okay, thank you so much, and I'll get back to finish what I have to finish in my house after I lay down for half an hour for my back. It's getting worse and worse. But I will do my best to try to come up with at least one tutorial this coming week. And don't forget to look at the announcement about clay from PolyClay Play. All right, thank you so much, and I will see you next. Oh, don't forget, my birthday is coming on the 12th of March, so we're gonna have a special edition. It's a Friday. We're gonna have a special edition so I can celebrate my birthday with you online. Okay, thank you so much. See you next Sunday. Actually, not next Sunday, it's gonna be next Saturday, because we're gonna have the monthly chat in the first Saturday of the month, and then I'll see you Sunday. Okay, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.